then I'll come and take a seat. And then as the thing is just going to keep rolling.
Right.
One to the other. Exactly 7:03. 7:04. We're going to start at 7:03, 3 minutes. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to you here in person who braved the weather, the rain, and came here in person. Thank you. And those of you who are watching on live stream, welcome to Celebrating Courageous Women of Faith. My name is Rose DiMartino. What's tonight all about? In a nutshell, it's a night where our parish shines a spotlight on contemporary Catholic lay women out there bettering our world. And it's a night to ask ourselves some tough questions too. At the start of the program, you saw photos of some extraordinary Catholic lay women. Eunice Shriver, the founder of the Special Olympics. Azucena Villaflor, a mother who organized other mothers whose children had been disappeared by an authoritarian regime. Agnes Nixon, a soap opera writer who grappled with real-life issues in her program. Penny Lernoux, a journalist, using her pen to decry the poverty and oppression of the poor in Latin America. Grace Sobel, a young woman with Down syndrome, advocating on behalf of others with disabilities. And the other courageous Catholic women our committee identified, and the many, many others that we did not, they are myriad. These Catholic lay women have labored tirelessly, using their God-given gifts and energies to improve the lives of other poor and marginalized persons. They're not passive, they're not complacent, they are doers of the word, always on behalf of others. We have hung large-scale banners in our church with images of 3 outstanding Catholic lay women. Why, you might ask? Simply because we all need models of faith to challenge our complacency, to show us who we are called to be as followers of Jesus. That's what saints are, right? True. But we wanted to focus on more ordinary people, people like us, neither saints nor professed religious. And more particularly, we wanted to consider contemporary Catholic lay women as role models for our lives. Every one of our honorees is a mom and a grandmother. Yet, faced with injustice, they took action. They have each affected thousands of lives by asking themselves one simple question: what can I do to help? We also chose to focus on laywomen because in a church where there are precious few women in leadership positions, celebrating the gifts and actions of women is right and needed. Tonight is called Courageous Women of Faith. The three women we specially honor tonight are certainly that. I personally am in awe of every one of them. Every one of them met with hate and resistance. One was severely beaten, yet they persisted. I can't think of better role models. Their lives show us what faith in action looks like, what hope in action looks like, what love in action looks like. We hope you enjoy getting to know them. Now let me turn this over for an introduction to our first courageous woman of faith.
My name is Karen Sue Smith, and I am absolutely delighted to tell you a few things about Dolores Huerta, an extraordinary leader of compassion, determination, patience, and tenacity, as you will hear. Sí, se puede. Yes, we can. That's her motto, although it has been borrowed, I've heard. It also describes her remarkable life. Now, in recent years, Dolores has been honored nationally as a community organizer and labor leader. She is, of course, the respected co-founder with Cesar Chavez of the National Farm Workers Association, later known as the United Farm Workers Union. If you look on our banner here, you'll see the union logo. It's the Aztec Black Eagle, and it's on Dolores's poncho. She has secured for herself a place in U.S. labor history for her crucial role as a lobbyist and as the lead negotiator of contracts that led to increased wages and benefits, which really means increased dignity, doesn't it? For hundreds of thousands of agricultural workers, the people who have produced the food we eat. Dolores has received honorary doctorates, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and she's the subject of an award-winning documentary film called Dolores. It's available online, and I highly recommend it. I have a deep hope we will show it in this parish where we can discuss it at some point. But early on, in those early years, maybe decades, there were no accolades. Dolores's work was risky and costly to her and to her family. Said one of her 11 children, Angela, "We witnessed all the adversity, challenges, and just plain hate our mother faced. And I would think, when will she give it up? When will she say enough?" Well, she has never given up. Not even when, age 58, she was beaten so badly by a policeman during a non-violent protest that she was sent to the hospital with broken ribs and a crushed spleen that had to be surgically removed. You may be asking yourself, what values motivate a person to live this way? I wondered, how did the little Girl Scout who wanted to become a flamenco dancer become this iconic leader? I'll tell you how. Her own mother, her local parish, Hispanic culture, her own personal experience as a Mexican-American girl in a society that discriminates against people of color and isn't particularly non-discriminating toward girls and women either. All those played a role. Along the way, she internalized Catholic social values so that she chose a life of service, especially to the poor. She accepted the Christian responsibility to build a more just society for all people. And so she fostered community, civic engagement, and fairer laws. As a young school teacher, Dolores noticed the ill-clad, hungry children of farm workers in her classroom. She asked the principal, were there vouchers or something for food and shoes? Already, she knew in her 20s that compassion has nothing to do with feelings, it's deeds, and it always will be. Of their parents, the farm workers, she said, it's wrong for full-time workers to live in such poverty. But they did. They suffered from inadequate wages, housing, food. They lacked drinking water, toilets, health care, insurance, and they worked in fields that had been sprayed with toxic pesticides, their little children playing alongside them, breathing it all in. Women workers were harassed by overseers with impunity. Dolores called all this for what it was, a step up from slavery, she said. She left teaching to become a community organizer with a community service organization where she met Cesar Chavez. And in 1962, a real turning point, he asked her to co-found a Hispanic Association of Farm Workers, the first in the United States, to enable the workers to press for their own civil rights. This idea has roots in Catholic social teaching, teaching about labor and the dignity of work, and also the nonviolent civil rights movement that was huge at the time. When the CSO expressed no interest in their new venture, though, Dolores and Cesar quit to go forward with it. Now picture this, if you will. It's a scene. Dolores is 32 years old, a divorced mother of 7 children. She moves in with Cesar, his wife Helen, and their 8 children. That's 3 adults by my count, 15 children. For seed money, Cesar uses his life savings, $1,200. Helen supports both families. How? She picks grapes. The Chavez kitchen table was the association's office. Their assembly hall, their parish hall, Our Lady of Guadalupe. What a remarkable example of faith, commitment, and voluntary poverty on behalf of other people. It took 5 years of organizing, picketing, strikes, arrests, a 340-mile worker march that fortunately made the national news, a 25-day fast by Cesar, and here's the critical thing, mustering the support of 17 million Americans like you and me, who boycotted grapes not in sympathy, but in solidarity. The following boycott on lettuce took 5 more years, but success happened in 1975 in California, when their law permitted farm workers to form labor unions and bargain collectively so that they too could be protected by minimum wage laws and safety standards like other American workers. Now fast forward to 2002. That's 20 years ago, when Dolores left the farm workers and started something new. She started it new when she was 72 years old. She had just won the Puffin Creative Citizenship Award, and it came with a $100,000 check. Raise your hand if you think that she banked that money to support or supplement the Social Security checks she lives on. Anybody? You're right. No, she took all that money and established the Dolores Huerta Foundation to train a new generation of organizers and Hispanic leaders. Dolores will turn 92 on April 10th, God willing, which is why in this time of COVID, she's not here with us tonight, though I hope she is watching. On behalf of our whole parish, I am honored to present this Mary Magdalene Award to Dolores Clara Huerta. Thank you. Now, you'll find this remarkable too. She made a video and sent it to us accepting this award.
I'm Dolores Huerta, and I just want to say thank you for recognizing me and giving me this prestigious award. We know that as women, that we can do a lot to make the world a better place, and we can follow the paths that the saints have laid out for us. While we may not be saints, we do have the ways that we can help other people and make the world a better place than when we arrived here. We know that as women, we have the inhibition, we have the commitment, we have the patience and the courage to be able to make the world a better place. And without us, we should never think, oh, that's all going to happen without us. No, it isn't, because there are so many areas of need in our society. My middle name, by the way, is Clara. My mother named me after Saint Clare, who was Francis of Assisi, Saint Francis of Assisi's right hand. And we know that they were dedicated to helping the poor. And when we think of all of the people out there in this world that need help, we need to dedicate ourselves to help them. And again, as my mother used to say, don't expect recompense or recognition for the work that you do. Well, today we are getting recognized, and that is very, very nice. But we know that that is not why we need to do the work to help others. So following, again, the saints that we were sometimes named after, we know that we can continue to do a better job, make the world a better place, leave it better when we leave than when we arrived and we were born into this world. Because that is the reason that we were born into this world in the first place. because all of us have gifts that we can offer. All of us have time that we can give. And so let's follow the saints and do the best that we can. Si se puede, yes, we can.
Good evening. My name is Mariah Capio, and I wanted us all to picture a time when you've been sitting on the couch, watching television, and your program is interrupted by breaking news. Now, this might not be as common with our streaming services, but I think we can all remember a time when there's that little announcement that's scrolling across the bottom, or the newscaster interrupts to announce that something, usually not something good, is happening in the world. Well, this is exactly what happened to Eleanor Giuseitis in the late 1960s, when, from the comfort of her suburban Michigan home, she watched with frustration and confusion as the riots took over Detroit. Racial tension had hit a boiling point, and Black communities were rising up in anger and protest to the injustices of poverty and racism. So what did Eleanor Giuseitis do next? She didn't change the channel. She didn't ignore what she was seeing and hearing, and she did not simply return to her comfortable life. She packed up her husband and 5 young children and moved to Detroit. And she wanted to support the Black communities in their fight for equity and justice. The parallels between the 1960s and the Black Lives Matter movement are clear. Eleanor Giuseitis is an inspiration to us all to be cheerful givers and to be active anti-racists. To hear more about Eleanor and her life, and Focus Hope, the agency she helped co-found, we're very grateful to share this video from her family.
Hello, my name is Tom Giuseitis. I am the son of Eleanor Giuseitis, who co-founded Focus Hope with Father Cunningham a year after the civil unrest in Detroit in 1968. What really drove my mom was their mission statement, which was recognizing the dignity and beauty of every person. We pledge intelligent and practical action to overcome racism, poverty, and injustice, and to build a metropolitan community where everybody can live in peace, harmony, and affection. And that was really what my mom was about. From the second she got involved with Father Cunningham, she did nothing but try to pursue that mission. When my mom met Father Cunningham and they decided to found Focus Hope, I was 5 years old, and we were living in the suburbs. We were living in a suburb of Detroit called Taylor, and it was definitely a primary white suburban community. At that time, I probably didn't have much interaction at all with people of color, just a little kid growing up in the suburbs. But when my mom decided that she was going to get involved with Focus Hope and start this mission, she was very determined that if she's got to put her money where her mouth is. If she's going to do this, we got to move our family into the city and be a part of that community that she was serving. So we moved to Detroit. It was a tough decision. Although I was small and didn't really have to see it, my parents had a big struggle to do that. There were people on my dad's side of the family that didn't think it was a wise decision at all to move your family into the city. My mom's own mother had an issue with that and thought maybe us kids should stay with her or not move into the city. But my parents made a decision, and it was a very, in my opinion, a great decision We moved into the city the year after the riots, and the neighborhood that we moved into, 7 Mile in Livernois, was just a great area. It was called Sherwood Forest. Wonderful neighborhood. The whites that decided to stay in the city at that time and not move out all wanted their families to be integrated families. So it was a really great community. I absolutely loved where I grew up, and I'm still friends with all my friends that I've known since I was 5, 6 years old.
Hello, my name is Mark Giuseitis. I'm the eldest of Eleanor's 5 children. I wanted to share a few thoughts with you today on the role that faith played in shaping my mother's efforts to combat racism and poverty, end hunger, and improve the lives of people in our community. My mother took very seriously the callings of her faith. She believed wholeheartedly in loving and respecting our neighbors. She believed strongly in the sentiment of an old hymn that goes, "Whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers, that you do unto me." In the aftermath of the 1967 riots in Detroit, she saw the vast divide between the haves of the largely white suburbs and the have-nots of the largely black and brown inner city. She decided she had to do something to narrow the divide, and shortly after, she and Father Cunningham founded Focus Hope. Her faith was the spark that propelled her to find practical solutions that would improve people's lives. Her faith gave her the strength to keep up the struggle for more than 40 years, until her death in 2011. In addition to attending Mass and celebrating the sacraments, my mother relied heavily on daily early morning prayer and devotional reading to strengthen her faith. Perhaps surprisingly, her go-to reading was not the Bible, but an Alcoholics Anonymous prayer book that the children of a friend who was in recovery passed along to her after their mother died. My mother could relate to the need to turn her life over to a higher power. Whenever she and Father Cunningham were facing a daunting task, such as testifying before Congress, one of them would pull out a penny and read the words, "In God we trust." As a little aside, during a vigil the night before my mother's funeral, my brother Michael told the gathering that he had placed a large jug at the back of the church for people to deposit their pennies as a little fundraiser for Focus Hope. The next speaker reminded everyone that "In God we trust" is on all U.S. currency, and to feel free to deposit something larger. Someone recently asked me what my mother would think about the world today. When the protests after George Floyd's death became violent and led to looting and destruction, I remember telling my wife, "Mom must be in heaven crying and feeling as if none of her work mattered." I had time to think about it again recently, and while I am sure she would be frustrated, disappointed, and a little angry at our continuing struggles as a society, I'm sure she would be more determined than ever to find new solutions and to continue moving forward. As she used to tell me when I was having a bad day, "Keep the faith, honey, and keep on trying." Thank you for this wonderful honor. God bless.
A couple of little funny things of my mom that just were classic things to remember her by. Some of them were her love letters. My mother received a lot of really nasty hate mail, especially in the early years of Focus Hope. I mean, nasty letters. They were made to intimidate, scare you, cause fear, just really trying to disrupt her. What the folks that sent those letters didn't know is those letters actually inspired my mom. So these letters, instead of like, you would think she'd want to just rip them up and throw them away and be like disgusted by them, but that's not what my mom did. She saved these letters and she would reread them all the time. And they just inspired her to try harder. I could tell you many a times I'd see my mom in our living room reading these letters, just mainly when she got a little frustrated or discouraged or like something was coming down hard on her. She would read those letters and they would just get her all fired up again, and she'd be out the door back doing her mission. So that was one thing about my mom that I really thought that it made her special that she used this thing that was supposed to be a weapon against her, and she used it in the right way to inspire her. I think what really made Focus Hope successful and make a difference in the community is just the commitment that my mother and Father Cunningham put into the organization. That it was a mission. It was not a job. It was not a task. It was, once they got started, they believed wholeheartedly in what they were doing, and they tried very hard to make a difference in the community. Thank you for honoring my mother.
I wrote a letter to the editor. It was on the editorial page, and the name of the article was "Strive to Build a World That Embraces Diversity." And the letter that I received back again says, "Shove diversity up your ass, bitch." Now, does anybody in this room think I'm going to be intimidated for 1 minute by this? It is only going to make me work harder. And you know what I'm going out of here with tonight? I know that every single person in this room is going to help me change the world, because you got it in your heart, and I could tell by listening to you. I wish you all of God's blessings. I ask you, please, let us build a world where we all appreciate one another. God bless you.
We're so honored to have Eleanor's son, Tom, here tonight, and her daughter-in-law, Janet, and Tom's gonna come up and accept the Mary Magdalene Award on behalf of his mom.
Thank you. On behalf of my family, we'd really like to thank you for honoring my mother. The fact that Focus Hope is still serving the Detroit community after 53 years, I think is a real testament to her faith and the passion that she put into pursuing her mission. My mom, if she were here right now, she would very quickly say to you, "I appreciate this honor," and much like Dolores did in her video, the very first thing out of her mouth would be, "I appreciate this, but it's not about me. It takes all of us to make this work, and all of us have to do our part to make the world a better place." And she would say that to all of you, and then she would go out and start networking with you to try and find ways to do that. So thank you again for honoring my mother, and very much appreciate this.
Good evening. My name is Patty Hughes. In a few moments, I'm going to invite our third honoree and keynote speaker to come up. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Sharon Levine and why we chose her for this honor. Imagine a carefree little girl playing in the warm sunshine, cool grass beneath her feet, beautiful blue sky above her. She runs around and plays with her siblings and her cousins. on property that they've owned for generations. Together, they tend the vegetable gardens, they collect eggs from the chickens, they milk the cows. They're happy, enjoying the gifts of their healthy lifestyle without a second thought. This was as it should be. This was normal. This was ordinary. This was life in St. James Parish, Louisiana, prior to 1968. And then the factories came, one after another, promising employment to the locals, while secretly spewing poison into the river, to the land, and to the air. The beautiful sky was no longer blue. A chemical haze blocked the sunshine. The people could no longer enjoy their days outside. They developed skin rashes if they stayed out too long. They became ill. They developed cancers. Many died. The area became known as Cancer Alley. God's beautiful, pristine earth was badly damaged. The corporations continued building factories along the river in St. James Parish. With no one to stop them, they could do as they pleased. They continued ravaging the air, the soil, the river, until one ordinary woman, a mother, grandmother, teacher, sat on her front porch one day, weeping in desolation, asking God what she could do to save her home and the people she loved. She asked God if she should leave her home, and the answer came. She heard God tell her to stay and fight she did. Now, of course, you know I'm talking about that little girl. The little girl grew up to be a strong, courageous woman of faith. Soon after hearing God's call, Sharon asked the neighbors to join her in this fight. Together, they formed an organization called Rise St. James. They have already successfully stopped Formosa Plastic's attempt to build in St. James Parish, and they're working to stop others. Now, you've heard about Canary and the coal mine, right? Years ago, coal miners would take a caged canary into the mines with them, and they used them as an early warning sign of toxic levels of gas in the mine. If the canary died, they knew the gases had reached a dangerous level. Well, the people of St. James Parish feel like they're being used as the canaries right now. Sharon has been honored by other organizations for her dedication. She received the prestigious Goldman Environmental Prize in 2021. And she's been invited to speak at many events, including an upcoming trip to Abu Dhabi. We are so fortunate to have Sharon here with us this evening. And now I'd like to invite Sharon Levine to come up here and join me. Yeah. And just before Sharon begins to speak, we have a little slide presentation that we'd like to show you. I'm just going to move over. Maybe if I talk? Yeah.
You want to talk?
Yeah. And now, Sharon, on behalf of the Church of St. Ignatius Loyola, it is my honor to present you with the Mary Magdalene Award.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to tell you.
All right, okay. Good afternoon. I am Sharon Levine from St. James, Louisiana, and I'm so proud to be here tonight with all of you to celebrate with us. First, I would like to read a verse from the Bible. Most times I start off with a verse. I want to read from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 and 9. We are afflicted in every way, but not constrained, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. That's Rise St. James. That's the organization that we formed in 2018. Mostly women. We have about 4 men in our organization, but it was women who came together in my den in October of 2018. Before this happened, we were going to meetings in St. James to an association called HELP, Humanitarian Enterprise of Loving People. We sat in that meetings for 2.5 years to listen to them complain about industry coming into St. James Parish. We asked, let's fight Formosa Plastics. They said we couldn't because the governor approved it. And they said we couldn't because the parish officials would approve it. And they were right. I didn't think they would approve such a humongous industry, but they did. So that gave me more courage to want to stand up and fight. Because when I was in the Help Association, I learned and I found out that we had 12 industries in a 10-mile radius in St. James Parish. Our parish consists of 7 districts. I live in the 5th district, where it's bombarded with 12 in a 10-mile radius. And in the 4th district, we had 9. One industry was about to come in. It was called Wanwan from China. We went to parish council meetings. We protest. We talked to the parish council members. Wanwan packed up and pulled out. That was our first victory. Then we still had to fight on our hands with Formosa. We talked to the parish council at the meetings and asked them not to approve Formosa Plastics coming into our community. They totally ignored us. They voted for Formosa Plastics against our will. We elect these 7 people to represent us. They don't represent us. It must be the industry, but it's not us. We are the citizens. We live there. And these parish council members, they don't consider our opinion. They don't even listen to us. The parish president and the parish council, they need to be out because our lives are more important than industry. We live in an area called Cancer Alley. Cancer Alley is an 85-mile stretch from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. St. James is in the middle of that stretch. I didn't know industry was poisoning us until I joined the Help Association back in 2015. The Help Association, we worked to stop the Bayou Bridge pipeline. That was not a success. They still brought the pipeline in, but they're not running the oil through the pipelines yet. When you get up in the morning, you will smell something smells like a rotten egg smell like chemical, chlorine. When you drink the water, it's already polluted with benzene and other chemicals. And the reason why I know that, because people that work there told me that they accidentally dumped benzene in the water that we have to drink, and the same water that we take a bath in. Sometimes our body itch from taking a bath with that water, often. Sometimes when you pass by a certain industry, 3 miles from my home, you will see a smog in the air, early in the morning and at night. When you pass there, you could smell something. Even if you have a mask on, you could smell it. If you come across the Sunshine Bridge, that smell hits you. When you come to visit St. James, you might leave with a headache or some type of stomach ailment if you sit there for about 2 hours. Imagine what we are going through every day. We have to smell this every day of our lives. When the first industry came in, back in 1968, my daddy and the politicians welcomed this industry, not knowing 30 years later it's poisoning people and killing people. If my daddy was alive today, there's no way he would allow his people to be poisoned. The politicians said that we need jobs. Don't make us the sacrifice for people to get jobs. Everybody needs jobs, that's true. We need green jobs. We don't need jobs that will kill us and pollute us. We are trying to get the ministers on board. We're trying to get the Catholic Bishop of Baton Rouge on board. I went to visit with him, and now we're going to visit with him again to try to get him on board to help us stop all of this killing. I have 2 brothers with cancer. My sister-in-law died with breast cancer. A friend of mine died with throat cancer. And a whole slew of other people have died. My neighbor died on my right side with cancer. My neighbor died on my left side with cancer. How many more have to sacrifice their lives for industry? Industry makes the profit off of our lives. We have to give up our lives so they can make their profit. They don't do anything for us but pollute us. They might give us a tarp after the hurricane, but what is a tarp compared to our lives? My house is destroyed. I don't need a tarp. I need a contractor to help me to rebuild my house. They don't think about that. All they do is pollute. They never come to the rescue of the people. They don't need the people because the politicians vote them in. Our governor, John Bell Edward, in 2018, approved this plant to come into St. James in the 5th district, 2 miles from my home. I said no. I said, Formosa, this is the stop. You will not come to St. James and poison us. So far, they're not there yet, and we've been fighting this for 3 years. Rise St. James, been fighting this for 3 years, along with our attorneys. We can't do it by ourselves, but our community, the people that's coming together, people in New Orleans, different organizations, they all joined in with us. We had marches, we had protests, we had council meetings. Rise St. James would meet regular to form strategies to try to see how we can stop these industries. There's another industry that's trying to come in here. The parish official gave them a permit. It's called South Louisiana Methanol. They want to be built next to our park, the only park that we have in the 5th district. If this plant is built, there's no way your child would be able to go to that park. The emissions that they will release in the air, there's no way. The community that's right next to the park, they will not live. They will die. I can tell you that. With the chemicals that's going to be coming from this industry, we will not be able to live. And that industry wants to wrap around our park. Parish Council approved it. So that's why we have Rise St. James. Rise St. James will change St. James Parish, because we will not allow any more to come into our parish. Formosa plans to go to Plaquemine. They plan to buy land from Shintech. Shintech tried to come into St. James years ago. My cousin Imelda West fought that plant. It went away. It went to Plaquemine. They went to Plaquemine to tell the people not to let this industry come into their hometown. They didn't listen. They voted for it. So now Formosa is trying to tag on to them and build their facility. That's where they plan to go. We have to talk to the people in Plaquemine. I don't think they know that this plant is going to poison them also. This plant has a bad record in Taiwan. Taiwan don't want them there. They have a bad record in Port Comfort, Texas. They don't want him there. Diane Wilson is the lady that's fighting Formosa in Texas. I met her, and they were successful. They had a $50 million settlement, but they poisoned the river. The fish, they can't fish. The fishermen lost their jobs. Then they have to find a job somewhere else. Some of them working for Formosa. Formosa just took over that town. Formosa is not taking over St. James. We are strong, and we're going to fight. No more is coming in. With the help of God, just like Patty said, when I sat on my porch and I prayed, I left the people alone, and I went to God. That's who you have to go to. Formosa is not bigger than God. When God told me, right here, he said, fight. When I asked him, in tears, crying to God, and God said, I don't want you to leave. And he told me, I don't want you to sell your home, and I don't want you to sell your land. And I listened to him, but I didn't know what to do. And I asked him what to do. I didn't ask man. Man said it couldn't be done. Man said, you can't stop that plant. But I said, I know I can't stop a plant, but I know God can stop it. God told me to fight, and I've been fighting ever since. I gave up my life to follow God. I don't even spend time with my family like I should. I'm working every day, 7 days a week. I'm working. Sometimes I can't sleep because he wakes me up and talks to me and tells me what I should do. And I do what he tells me to do. Sometimes you have to fight man, but I don't let that discourage me. I pray for man. And when I get discouraged, I take my Bible and read my Bible. So many obstacles come in your way. They try to discourage you. They tell you all kind of negative things. So far, we're still going. Rise St. James is still here, and we are rising. We are doing so much in our community. We try to help people. The main thing we want to do is to educate our people. They don't know the harmful effects of these industries. They don't know the chemicals. I can't pronounce the chemicals either, but I do know they are harmful. I have a daughter that can pronounce the chemicals, and she could tell me what the chemicals are. Whenever I need to know something, I go to her. And she would say, Mama, that's a dangerous one. I said, really? And she would educate me. Our goal is to educate the public, let them know what's going on. I have people come to me and tell me that they are so glad that we have Rise. Rise is so wonderful. And I mean, we have risen so far. In 3 years' time, we stopped one, now we're going to stop another. And we have to stop South Louisiana methanol. If they come, we can't let them poison our children that want to go to the park and play. So with God's help, we are going to continue to rise. And this is what my closing statement would be. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 6 and 7. So we are always courageous. That's Rise St. James. Although we know that while we are at home in the body, we are away from the Lord. For we walk by faith, not by sight. That's what my daddy used to say. And he would always say, prayers changes things. And I say it too, because prayers does change things. If prayers can change me, prayers can change anyone. I was a school teacher. I never, ever spoke in public, never wanted to speak in public. But to save my community, to save my life, I'll speak on top of the mountain. I want to say one thing. The work is not easy. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie. It's not easy. And it's nonstop. You go every day. You don't stop to take a break. You might take a break to go to bed or might take a break to come here. That's when I get my most rest, when I travel and I rest a while. That's better. But we're fortunate to have mutual aid and help from others. We welcome your help. We appreciate everyone's support, especially you all, for having me here. One thing, to love our community is to find ways to heal it, and it will be healed through God, not through rides, but through God. God uses us as his vessel. And whenever I march, he holds my hand, and his arms are always around me. Thank you. Oh boy, this is something.
Thank you, Sharon. I'd like to invite our pastor. Father Dennis Yesalona, to come up.
What a truly inspirational evening it has been, and I'm going to go off script if you don't mind. I was invited by the committee simply to come here to offer a blessing for women. I cannot just simply do that, and I'm grateful, by the way, to Sharon for bringing scripture here. So we have the word of the Lord spoken to us already, so thank you for doing that as well. This evening, as you might imagine, has taken a lot of work, time, energy, and it was the determination of a group of women of this parish that have made this evening possible, and I would like us to acknowledge them and to show them our appreciation, and I will call them by name if you would not mind standing. Patty Hughes, Rose DiMartino, Maria Viola, Danielle Clyup, Simone Vinacore McKeever, Karen Sue Smith, and Mariah Capio. Thank you so much for bringing so much life, joy, and holiness to our parish. And by consensus, unanimous of the members of the committee, I want to especially acknowledge one person. We're honoring courageous women of faith. I'd also like to acknowledge a tenacious woman of faith, Rose DiMartino. Who has been the driving force of this evening. Splendid job. Thank you very much, all of you women. Thank you. And I'm delighted, just to let you know, that the committee went against its guidelines in selecting those whom we honor this evening. They told me that they would not, but would defer recognizing and honoring saints, women saints. A saint is someone who heroically and unabashedly proclaims the kingdom of God and labors to make the world exactly what God intended it to be. Free from bias and hatred and discrimination because of the color of skin. Free from abusive tactics that do not honor labor and the dignity of those who work. And as our own Holy Father, Pope Francis, says, we have a special obligation and duty to care for our common home, to protect our environment, to make our air breathable, our water drinkable, and the land on which we walk worthy of its creation. And so these are the things that saints do. And as I said, I'm delighted these women went against their inclination not to honor saints, because in point of fact, they did. Each one of the women we've honored tonight are saints among us. And I'm delighted that you honor us by allowing us to honor you. Thank you. I had the pleasure of meeting Sharon for the first time this evening, and Eleanor's son, Tom. And among their first comments was how beautiful this church is. And it is. But let me tell you, please, all three of those whom we honor, the eloquent beauty of your lives far surpasses the beauty you see here. And allowing us to display banners of each one of you brings life and breath and a heartbeat to who we are in this church, and allows people to appreciate its beauty because of you. And for that, I wish to thank you for allowing your images to be displayed on these beautiful banners. Thank you. Now I go back to the script, the reason I was called up here to this ambo, to offer a prayer of blessing for women. And I took the liberty of adapting the prayer that is used on International Women's Day. So, as I pray, I invite all of us, please, to stand. May love rise in and through you. May you know love deeply and intimately, that you will have a hunger and a thirst for the more of God. May you be women who celebrate other women. May the warmth of friendship and joy of being loved be present around your table and in the milestones you celebrate. May you be voices of truth and boldness. May you have the strength and wisdom to wrestle with your personal stories until you own them and have learned how to make them sing. When you are distrustful of others, may you be surprised by the goodness of God that pulsates the rhythm of all life. May other women of all faith traditions and of no faith come into your lives at the right time, so you may find courage and hope in all your dreams. May you be alongside women who invite you to go deeper, who make you more real, more honest, who know who you are without makeup or masks. May you experience acceptance and opportunities to do the work you love to do and receive equal pay and credit when you do it. We condemn the sins of violence, rape, abuse, and torture against all women no more. May you be safe and without fear all the days of your lives. May economic injustice educational inequality, maternal mortality, patriarchy, movements designed to baptize prejudice in sacred language, sex trafficking, and all the ways the image of God in women is abused and mistreated be forever broken and banished during our lifetime. May places where the world has broken you become wellsprings of healing and wholeness. And may your very place of death become a story of unexpected resurrection. May you know deeply you are loved by God and remember the truth of who you are. And now, rest in your God-breathed worth. Stop holding your breath, hiding your gifts, ducking your head, dulling your roar, distracting your soul, stilling your hands, quieting your voice, and satisfying your hunger with the lesser things of this world. May you live your life in the cadence of the redeemed and resurrected. Live prophetically. Be bold and brave together. We are headed toward the new city of Jerusalem. May you rise from brokenness to the heights of glory, surrounded by love, respect, mercy, and compassion. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord smile upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift you up and grant you peace. Amen.
I don't think there's anything to say after that. Maybe just let me say one thing. Our committee is hoping this is not a one-night stand. We hope tonight gets us all thinking and talking to each other about the role of women in our church, about our call to stand up and speak out against injustice, and yes, about the joy to be found in actively loving our neighbors. We invite everyone in our parish to ask the same question that these three women asked: what can I do? What can our parish community do? These banners are going to be up for the entire month of February, so we invite all the people on live stream, please, please, please come and experience them yourself. I think you'll be incredibly moved. They're wonderful. And also, please Google Dolores Huerta, Eleanor Giuseitis, and Sharon Levine. We just scratched the surface of who they are here. They truly are awesome, awesome women. I want to, our Father Yesolona thanked our committee, but we want to thank him. When we went to him and broached this idea, he didn't blink. He said, do it. And he has supported us every step of the way. So thank you, Father Yesolona. Thanks to all the members of the parish staff who really did all kinds of things, small and large, to make this happen. From the, the publicity, the doing of the live streaming, hanging the banners. I mean, there were a million things that they did, so thank you all. I want to give a very, very special thanks to all the people who donated to help defray the costs of this, to pay for these banners. As they say, how you spend your money says what is important to you. And your donation meant so much to this project, and also it says so much about you and about the kind of church you want for yourselves and your children. And we hope she's listening. We want to thank Julie Loneman, our artist, who took the idea of honoring these 3 specific women, and she really brought this whole thing to life. So she did an absolutely extraordinary job. And lastly, I too want to thank our 3 extraordinary women, Eleanor, Dolores, Sharon. Your lives inspire us to be who we're called to be as followers of Jesus. May your lives and your work, Focus Hope, the Dolores Huerta Foundation, and Rise St. James continue to flourish. Our parish is making a contribution to each of your organizations to honor their courageous women founders. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. For those of you who are here, there are refreshments downstairs in Wallace Hall. You'll have a chance to meet Sharon and Tom and talk to them. Again, thank you all on live stream. Sorry you couldn't be here with us, and please come and see the banners. Thank you all. Have a great night.